In most cantons in Switzerland, children start school at 4 years. But you'll find that if your child is born after the 31st of July, they'll have to wait 1 year to join school. So if you don't know about this like me, I came already pregnant. I had my firstborn. Then I got to learn about this when my firstborn did not like the daycare and wanted to go to school. But no, he was not allowed to start school because he was born after 31st of July. So then I decided all the other children I was going to have, I was not going to make any calculations. I was just going to have them. Okay. So then they're all born after 31st of July. So that means they have to start school a year later. That is if they want to join the public schools that usually start in August. So now, what is it that can make someone feel scared of having children abroad? The first thing has to do with permanency. When you move into a new country yourself, you're not sure whether it will be somewhere that will be good for you in the long term. But then now when you have a child, then it's even more difficult to move if you find that this is not the right place for you. You've moved to Switzerland, you found that Switzerland is not for you, but Germany is for you. But then moving from Switzerland to Germany with a child who has been living in a French-speaking canton can be very difficult, especially when these children are already further along in their studies. It can really be something that can influence their performance because they've been doing their studies in French. Then you move them to Germany where they speak purely German. That can be something that can set them back in their academics and even in their relationship, social life, because they have to make new friends in that new country. It's just not the same thing. Something else that is pretty difficult is losing your freedom, because when you don't have a child, you can easily make changes in your life. You can say, I don't like this employer, I'm going to try with this other employer, even if the salary is less, but I am seeing that I'll be able to grow and have something better. Well, when you have a child, children come with expenses. In Switzerland, they give an approximate of 1.5 million to raise a child to adulthood. So for someone like me who has 3 children, do the math. So then it's not easy for you to easily change stuff like someone who does not have children. Everything has to be carefully thought through. Any changes that you want to make, you want to move from one canton to another, you have to think of the child. You want to relocate, I'm telling you, you want to buy a new house, you have to think of the child, because you have to think, how close is the school from the house? Which school will they be going to? Can I be able to get care during lunchtime? All these things you have to be able to think about. What does the commune offer? Does it offer transport to school for children in the public schools, for example? In the private schools, this is kind of different. But of course, the private school also comes with extra charges. Then something else is identity problem. You'll find that you have your own culture, you have your own identity, but your child is born in Switzerland or is born in a foreign land where they'll be learning new cultures, new identities. What they choose to pick will be up to them, no matter how much you try to instill things. Of course, when you show them your culture and that's much of what you practice at home, they will have that in them. But in the long run, you'll find that some children choose to have the culture of the place where they were born in or where they live. For example, for me, my children born in Switzerland, they decide to have the Swiss culture. You might find there are things that you don't agree with, but these children are deeply rooted into these norms of this country. So these are some of the things that people can fear. And I find sometimes, I was discussing with one mother who said she cannot bring her child to Switzerland. She left her son back in Burundi. And she said, yes, she tries to make several trips back home. And that works for her. That is, unlike me, that is something that would never work for me. So this is also something that really scares people from having children in foreign countries. The fourth thing is clashing norms. This is almost related to my last point, but you find that in cases of maybe disciplining your child, the way you discipline your child in Kenya is not the same way you'll discipline your child in Switzerland. The way your child is free to talk to adults in Switzerland is not the way they're free to talk to adults in Kenya. In most African countries now it's changing. You'll find that when the child is speaking to an adult, they're not supposed to look at the adult straight in the eye. But in Switzerland, when you fail to look at someone when speaking to them straight in the eye is seen as disrespect. Therefore, being that they go to school here, they will pick on that and they'll be talking to people looking at them straight in the eye. You'll also find that they'll easily engage in adult conversations. You'll be talking there with your friends, with adults, and the child will come and also give their opinion. That, when I was growing up in my culture, was seen as very disrespectful and was frowned upon. So these are some things that will be normal in the country you're living in, but in your home country will be taken as disrespect. When you decide to visit, go back home for holidays or whatever, people might have opinions about this, and some people feel uncomfortable about this kind of situations. Something else that is very important is getting help. When you've given birth, usually you really need help postpartum. But you'll find that when you're in a foreign land, this is something that is very difficult. If you choose to pay for it, you can afford it and you pay for it, it will not be the same as when you have family. This is because when you are here and you get professional help, you need help with your child and housekeeping. As I said in my previous video, those are two different employees. The housekeeper is different from the nanny. And then sometimes you get a nanny who is looking at the time, and maybe you're late at work. And all those are things that if you had your family would be way, way easier. In Switzerland, most people, it's pretty hot. In Switzerland, most people work with family. So you find that grandmothers help, grandfathers help. You see most of the time you're walking on the street, there's an old lady with a pram or an old man with a pram. So it's not really a big deal for them because they have that strong family union and they have their families here. And it also helps them in the costs because then for things like nanny, they are sure that their parents can help them. Therefore, even when they're doing cleaning, they can have the children at their parents and they do cleaning. But you, who doesn't have family here, you will struggle with that. You will either have to employ someone to avoid being burnt out and or look for other ways of doing it. So these are some of the things that make it difficult to take the decision of having children abroad. However, what I did myself that prevented me from being scared of having children abroad is I just decided to start having children without even working on my recognition and having children at the same time. Because I knew if I waited, I would have said that no, I only want one child or no child. So just go for it. Do not overthink. When you overthink, you'll likely not have it. And I'll tell you for sure, now my children are older, it gets easier. Of course, the cost is still there, and it's good because then they motivate you to work more. But then it gets easier because they become independent. They also help you with learning things in the society. It's just, for me, it's a joy. Do not be scared because of these 5 points and any other points that I've not mentioned. Just go for it. Children are amazing and they're a blessing from God. See you in my next video, and kindly let me know in the comment section what are your fears or what scares you from having children, or if you're someone who has just decided that you do not want to have children, why don't you want to have children? It will be interesting to know your opinion. See you in my next video, and kindly do not forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Ciao ciao.